you, Peter. All right, so I will call this meeting of the Westfield Flood Control Commission to regular meeting to order. It's Wednesday, May 19th, 2021, 6:36 p.m. So I'll start with, we had a unforeseen medical condition with one of our commissioners. Mark Goodness is not with us this evening. I understand that he is okay, but he's not going to be able to make the meeting tonight. So we're going to push through the business that we can attend to, short of a vote, and schedule a special meeting next week to conclude the remaining business that requires voting. With that, I'll begin the roll call. Jack Leary.
Present.
Al Jagir, present. Mark Crosati, not present due to a death in his family. Casey Berube, not present. He had another commitment as well. I believe Jeremy Siegel from engineering will be attending our meeting at some point, but he is tied up in another city meeting at this time. And we have in the audience, I'll start with Kathleen. If you could just introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Hillman, 179 Susan Drive.
Thank you. And prospective commissioner. She's going to be submitting her application very soon. And we have also Ed Osowski. Ed.
How's it going? Ed Osowski, 17 Colony Drive. And I actually did already submit my application.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Ed. And we have Steve. Steve, I'm going to butcher your name. I do it all the time. Go ahead, Steve. You're on mute, Steve.
There we go.
There we go.
Just say Steve Michelob. Nobody forgets that. It's associated with the beer. So, yeah. Westfield Emergency Management.
Thank you, Steve. And let's see. Oh, we have Jeremy Siegel. Jeremy from engineering. Jeremy, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yep, Jeremy here from the engineering department, sitting in for Mark tonight. Certainly he copies me and Al copies me on all the flood commission correspondence, and I'll try to chime in when I can, but and here to answer any questions I can.
Thank you, Jeremy. And we also have, let's see, Shannon Chiba. Shannon, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shannon Chiba. I am a resident of 226 Steiger Drive, Westfield.
Thank you, Shannon. And she's also a member of the Westfield CERT. And I believe that's everybody on the line up there. Okay, so Jeremy, I know you came in just now, so we do not have a quorum this evening. Mark Goodness had a medical situation, so he will not be with us this evening, and we will push through with the business that we can, short of a vote, and schedule a special meeting for next week to address the items that need to be voted upon, which are several. With that, I'll move on. Is there any public report, item 3, public report participation? Do we have anyone from the public that would like to make a comment to the commission?
Does that include my question to engineering and to the flood control there, Al?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes, I would. Shannon Chiba, I'd like to bring up a question, perhaps to engineering and to the flood control, if that's all right at this time.
Absolutely. You have the floor, Shannon.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Okay, great. So I have a question for engineering and the flood control. It's something that I've noticed, and just let me know your thoughts, please, eventually. As we were checking out the area for the mural that will be taking place on the levee wall, we noticed a set of stairs that go up and down. And the reason why I noticed it is because it was there's a question that was posed to the mural folks on how folks would be getting to the mural. And, I believe that the way that people are going to come down there is, of course, as you go down the little path there aside the mural, you're going to come over by the DPW, which is Sackett Drive, and you come down. And that's people, it's a long trek, but people will have to walk down there. And of course, there is the set of stairs that is right in the middle, which is cannot be used right now. It is, to my knowledge, it's not completely safe and it is gated off. And so as I noticed it, and I was reminded of the goal, one of the goals, the reason why we're making that mural and we're revitalizing that whole area over there is to bring people to that space, which is a park, and we want people to activate that space and be there. And so it seemed to me like it might be possible if eventually we would be able to activate that staircase again and perhaps make it safe so that people could have a safe way of accessing the mural in the future and a way of enjoying that park space and that waterfront area. So it's just a general question that I have for engineering, for flood control, and for whoever might have purview, is whether or not it may be possible, whether or not it makes sense to you, and just if it could be done, and if it can be done, if in any way I can help, or just any way, if any of that makes sense to you, that it could be done. So that's my question, and thank you for allowing me the time and the voice to to submit that to you, and thank you for your continued support.
Absolutely, Shannon. And so Jeremy so for clarification, it's the stairwell that is the access stairwell that was for the former railroad bridge, which is now the bike rail bridge. There's a stairwell, and at the top it is at the bottom it's gated. On the top it was actually fenced off. I believe in the original discussions we talked about putting a gate there, but it's at the top is where the new surface structure for the connect between the intersect connect between the rail trail and the Westfield River levee trail. With the mosaic of the compass. So I know there's construction going on there now. The discussion was to reactivate that stairwell. It's going to need some repair. I don't think it's going to need a lot of repair. And then at the bottom, there's going to have to be some form of landing built there because it is, I wouldn't call it safe for the general public to use on a regular basis. But I think it could be reactivated at least to some limited use. And I also think having been there that day, and that this stems from a conversation that Shannon, Cheryl Crow, and myself had during the cleanup, the Westwood River cleanup and the city cleanup day for Earth Day, looking at that site, cleaning it up, making whatever repairs necessary so it could be utilized again. I think it would be helpful rather than having people try to walk all the way around down the access road, and then there's also other issues with the access road. So, but anyway, so there's that. Jeremy, if you have anything you'd like to.
Yeah, no, I've been involved a little bit. Certainly, you're in the floodplain at that point, so you can't just simply do any work. They are unsafe, so it was a liability concern on the city's behalf to close it off. If there's a lot of interest to bringing them up to code, I think we'd have to have a design and have to be permitted with the Conservation Commission, and I think if the landing is probably the worst situation, but certainly with current codes, there's probably handrail issues and everything else. So,
right.
The simplest thing in the short term from the city side for liability concerns was to block it off.
Okay. Yeah, I know the handrail is no longer there. It looks like it either got cut off or fell off. I know it was pretty well rotted, so it's no longer there. And then, of course, as we said, the landings doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I don't know what it would take to bring it to a limited code for limited use.
I don't think there is any limited code. I think the code is the code. So unfortunately, That's where some of these things that sound simple become much bigger than you imagine. But certainly we could talk with the building department and get their input as well.
Yeah, I kind of misspoke there. I didn't mean limited code, but I made limited access just for basic code requirements for a limited access path. But just a guesstimate. Here's another, backing it up a little bit. On the mosaic on the top, what is the timeline for that to be completed for the area to be repaired and finished off?
Is that a question for me or Shannon?
Yes, sir. No, for you. It's the mosaic where the intersect is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I think the majority of the bike trail they're hoping to finish up, by July, and that would include that work. I don't have an exact date on it, but I know it's pretty detailed, the work they're doing. So.
Okay. In that process, I know the artworks group wants to get some access, and that would make an easier access point for them to get down to do the mural. But if it's possible, could you take a look and see what it would require to get that to some level of code, and possibly we could make something work short term for them? I know that's a lot.
Again,
I know that's a lot to ask, but
I'll check in with Carissa in the building department. I don't think we're gonna get the answer we're hoping for. So
right.
I think it really is a longer term. If it's a desire that the city wants long term, I think it's something we need to, put a plan together and get it permitted. So it won't be something that will happen for the summer.
Okay.
Can I jump in real quick?
Absolutely, Shannon. Go ahead.
Okay, Al. Yeah, no, we don't really have a problem with getting down to the space. I really thank you very much for that. So I'm having people walk. I'm having people walk over and down, and it's not a big deal to do that. I will be taking my truck and the supplies down. I have no other option than to take my truck and supplies down to that area to paint with our forces there. It will be one vehicle, and I'll be bringing it back. So that's not a problem. My main issue was I'm talking about longevity for the city and for activating that space. So we have added a whole bunch of stuff there, right? Now we're adding the mosaic, we have the rail trail, we have the mural there now, we have the whole Esplanade area. People are going to come to this area. People are going to go down that hill. And there is nothing we can do to stop that. So in my view, the safest way to allow people to access this area is a staircase. Kids will run up and down that space, adults as well. And, do we want to have a safer spot for them to go or risk them getting hurt? Now, I know that there might be a lot involved in that. And I think a long-term plan would be wonderful if you guys feel as though that this is a mission you want to pursue. That's my ultimate goal, is to really enliven and activate that space. But like I said, it's already been activated. And my whole issue really is the safety of people, because they will head down there. And, and I thought that it was a great way for people to see the art and to enjoy that space. So really, that is my main goal. But I thank you so much for asking this gentleman here to work on that. But a long-term fix is usually the always answer, right? So so thank you.
No, you're very welcome, Shannon.
And Al, can I chime in? I know I've heard about
Absolutely.
the mural for a while, and I think I brought it up a few times. I just want to make sure that everybody is aware there's the anti-graffiti coating on there that needs to come off.
Yeah, we've done tests. We've checked it out, and it's actually going to be power washed. I did my research on that anti-graffiti coating,
Okay.
and it usually only lasts 2 years under optimal conditions. It's wax.
Yep.
And so the wax does fall off. It is biodegradable, and most of it is gone right now.
Okay.
There is graffiti on there already. There's a big V on there, and it says something like show or something.
Yeah.
It's already on there, graffiti.
Yep.
It broke through already.
Yeah, you may want to consider it after your mural's done to put a coating on it of anti-graffiti.
Yeah, thank you so much for suggesting that. So what usually happens is when you paint a wall or you add like actual legit artwork to an area, graffiti artists aren't usually concerned with going over it, because graffiti artists consider their work to be art as well. And as kind of weird as that might sound, now even if they do, the city has my promise, and it has the promise of Artworks, that we will continually revitalize that mural and make sure it's beautiful, just the same as the Hedges and the Taylor Street mural. It's going to be a long-term project, and every mural that Artworks does is a long-term commitment, and we promise to, continually, make sure that it looks good, because no paint lasts forever.
Hey, Al, could I chime in there for a second?
Absolutely, Steve. Go ahead.
Hey, Shannon, Springfield right now, what they're doing to stop illegal dumping is they're setting up trail cams. Is there something that, possibly, you do trail cam in the area to watch the murals? So if there is any graffiti, they can be caught.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
a couple of things. We've actually already looked into this for the Hedges and Taylor Street mural there, the Heroes Are Everywhere mural. But the truth is that with the expense and the people that would be willing to watch it, which would ultimately be your city police department, it's not actually worth the effort, because it turns out, like I said, Stephen, and this is very true. You can look up the studies on this. It does not get defaced. And even if they did, like I said, people choose to deface the murals that we do, it gives us another excuse to come down and paint. And that I am all for.
All right. And somebody else was trying to chip in. What was somebody was trying to say something.
Me.
Okay. Yep. Go ahead, Kat.
Mark Crasati just emailed me the beginning of this week that he's still working on getting cameras. He's working on it.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Thank you, Kathy. What was, just out of curiosity, what are the cameras? What's the purpose or placement? Was it for this, or was it for the area in general? I do remember you mentioning him.
I think it's in general, because I looked at it for the Taylor Hedges mural. Yep. And I did all the research and I got all the information, and it never materialized. So then he reached out to me asking me about pricing and what the commitment of the G&E was to the cameras. So I relayed all that stuff to him, and he said he would take care of it. So I'm not quite sure where it stands now.
Okay. Well, it's interesting nonetheless, and I think it would be helpful.
It would be good from a crime reduction standpoint to see what's going on down there, but also it is my belief that once you add people, you reduce crime.
Right.
But we'll see.
Plus, there were a lot of fishermen down there when I was there today, so people are fishing and using that area.
Yep. People always have used it for fishing and other recreation, but again, the mural will be a huge addition, and I think it definitely will brighten that area up quite a bit and make it a little bit more attractive than that barren concrete wall that we've had forever. So again, my hat's off to Artworks and everything you're doing in the city of Westfield, because it's phenomenal. Make the city look nice, give it a little bit of life and color, and anybody that's lived here for any length of time remembers the Pegasus up there on the north side, and those Pegasi, strike back to me from my childhood, because that was something I always associated with Westfield. And seeing these new murals, it just brings it all right back. So it's awesome to see. And I remember back in the late 60s. Well, I wasn't around in the late 60s, but in the 70s. As a kid, I remember seeing the murals painted on buildings everywhere to kind of liven up neighborhoods, and that goes a long way to bringing a neighborhood back and a community back together. Little things go a long way. So, and thank you, Shannon, for everything that you're doing, you and the Artworks group, making Westfield a little bit nicer here, there, and everywhere in between.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone for your continuing support, because we can't do it alone. You need a community and you need the city behind you, and the city is amazing and everybody's on board, and that's what makes the magic work.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Shannon. Jack, do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, not this moment. I'm learning and listening.
Roger that, sir. Shannon, would you like to say anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. But you know what? If you guys need my help in any way to make any of this happen, I am there for you, and I'll help in any way possible. That's pretty much it. And once again, I really appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak, and with the possibility of making this happen.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Shannon. We appreciate your time. Yes. Who do we have? Who do we have on channel?
Can I just ask a question?
I'm sorry. I've got another audio system running in the background. I didn't realize it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
If we have to pursue this, what are the steps we need to pursue having those steps repaired? Jeremy?
I think first steps are we could work with our building department. I mean, just understanding the code, reviewing the code and going out and taking a peek at what's out there today. That's step one to see if it's even feasible to slightly repair what's out there. If it involves a whole reconstruction of them, I think we're just, at that point, the stairs are just not going to be upgraded.
Would you take the lead on that?
Yeah,
or
our office
should
we'll
we?
check in with Carissa and put in our list to do.
Okay, thank you.
So appreciated, Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy's very good like that. So I'm sure he'll get back to me with that info, or get back to you directly with the info, and we'll try to keep working on this. It's not out of the realm of possibilities, and I don't know, maybe it could be incorporated somehow into the levee trail project, or some additional work. But I do see some value in that. Access to the water has always been a good thing for people. So, and considering all the historical stuff tied to rivers and streams in the Northeast and the rest of the world, I guess. But for our area especially, that section of the river has been synonymous with Westfield's livelihood. So, getting people down in there and enjoying it safely, it's only going to be beneficial in the long term. So, and like anything, the more people that are down there, the more public's down there, the less likely that problems will happen, because when people are there, they don't want to see things they care about destroyed. So give people a little bit of reason to care, and it'll go a long way. So with that, okay. Do we have anything else from the public at this time? Okay. Let's see. Something I don't have on here and I should have, but I will put you first. Steve Michelob. From emergency management, do you have anything you would like to report from the Department of Emergency Management regarding flood control?
No, I mean, this is your department. I will give you any support that you need or anything I can help you with. I know you've been working with the mayor and the council trying to get the funding to go along there. You're getting the FEMA emails as I do, talking about mitigating flood damage and things beforehand, and I know you're on top of that. So basically, this is your court, and I'll just be any support I can give to you to prevent the possibilities. Because we all know it's not if it's going to happen, it's just when it's going to happen. And I think you're trying your best to make sure that we are prepared to have it not happen as seriously as it can be. So I think the city really needs to appreciate what you do, the amount of time you put in and effort. And I just hope they give you all the support that you need.
Thank you, Steve. Typically I have a report from Mark Crissati, an engineering department, and also one from DPW with Casey Bruby. And I had said to you a while back that I was going to put you in as a regular feature as a report if you're available. And in this agenda, I completely forgot about it. So just if there's any input, it'll give you a voice to speak and add input, because our two areas really go hand in hand. I mean, when I'm dealing with what I'm dealing, obviously you're going to be dealing with the emergency part of it. So there might be something relevant that comes out of you having a say here and there in our stuff. I think it just makes sense. So, especially when you're trying to put together a more comprehensive plan for Westfield's emergency management, and the larger planning that you're looking at. I know you're working quite a bit and trying to put a bigger emergency plan together for the city to tie it all in, because it's never really been all tied in. And we've obviously had conversations about that in the past. So again, for you as well, same to you. I hope everyone appreciates what you're trying to do as well. I know you've been working pretty hard. You got the CERT team back together, and you got one team done. You're getting ready to do another at some point, and hopefully before the end of the summer, if it all works out. And again, you've got all the support from me that you need. Anything, and I'm right there. So I appreciate that.
I think we need to involve it also because the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on Little River Levee said that's one of the things we should update the emergency management of what would happen if that levee had a problem during a storm.
Right, Jack. Thank you, Jack. Steve, were you going to say something?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, exactly what you're saying, and I'm glad Jack chimed in on that. We do have to have a plan. We're surrounded by, I believe, 9 different dams, if I'm correct in the numbers. So if we were to have, and we are, and I talk about this, we are in an earthquake zone. It runs all the way to the Canadian border. So should we have an earthquake, say a magnitude 5 or larger, how many of those dams are, possibly going to fail because of the age of them or, the lack of upkeep? So we need to develop some kind of plans and have them ready to go. From what I've seen from some of the tier 2 reports, certain dams like up in on Granville Road there, the Springfield Waterworks, if those were to let go, the people in that area, they basically have about 10 minutes. So we need to develop things that early warning, some type of early warning system. I'm going to really push for people to sign up for the emergency system in Westfield, the Notify 911 system. That's an easy way to get messages out rapidly to the entire city or areas. So I want to push that as soon as COVID is pretty much over, where we can have events and get together. And, these events that we have downtown, the races and things like that, that's where you can meet and greet people and talk about the needs of the city and hand out information, like how to sign up for these programs, to be aware of what's going on. So as soon as we can get some of those programs back, I'll make sure emergency management is out there talking to the people and trying to keep them updated. And I hope my CERT team will be there too to be my support on that one.
Well, as one of your new CERT members, I can guarantee that I will be there when my schedule allows me to be. So I know I have a lot of stuff on my plate. So, but you got my full support, and so yeah. Does anyone have anything for Steve? Yes, Kathy.
I do.
Yep.
Steve, on May 23rd, it's a Sunday. The Artworks wordsmiths will be doing an author's meeting on the green. Would you have material ready for then?
Yeah, we can get something put together. Sure. I've got a lot of different publications I've ordered from FEMA and in my office. So yeah, I mean, I can set up down there and we can meet and greet the people. Yeah, we can do something.
Just because that's like one of the first things that's been happening. And also there's an open mic on Mondays. I don't know if it would be appropriate for us to be there, but it may be one way that we could get out some information. What do you think, Shannon?
Yeah, totally appropriate. It's a public gathering. CERT is a public voluntary entity, which is a fantastic entity. And thank you so much, Steve, for spearheading the renewal of CERT. And I will be there to assist you with any endeavors. And I could be there as well to encourage people to join CERT and to distribute anything necessary. We can wear 2 hats, Kathy.
Yeah, we can. And Al could too. But is it going to be from 11? Is it 12 to 3? I can't remember, Shannon.
You know what? I have to double check as well. I don't have it handy.
Okay,
And what was the date of this event?
May 23rd. It's a Sunday.
Okay, if you can send me an email, definitely, and then I'll share it too on the emergency management website also.
Okay,
Right. And if you want to post it up on the flood control Facebook page, you're welcome to, and distribute it there as well. And then I can disseminate it onto some of the forums if that's helpful. Okay. Let's see. So we got to get moving on through the meeting. I know Jeremy's had a long night already and a long day, so I don't want to keep him on too long. Do we have anything else for emergency management at this time? Okay, hearing none, moving on to, let's see, report from the city engineer's office. Jeremy Siegel. Jeremy, you have the floor.
All right, so certainly I know Mark probably gives a quick summary of all the projects. I think a lot of them have been going on for a while. I don't know if there's anything completely new on the dams. Certainly Little River, I think, is an active project. I know that's going to be in front of Conservation Commission, I believe, next Tuesday.
Yes.
And again, I've been involved a little bit, seeing all the emails. I know there's been a lot of discussion. It seems like everything's moving in the right direction. I know Mark is also working with the law department and getting those takings moving forward. I think they were looking at bringing those to City Council in June.
Okay.
To get that moving as well. So there's a lot of activity there, and I'm sure you guys are Al is really good with the emails and keeping everybody up to date. So the one I'm mostly involved with is probably the Westfield River levy. We are moving forward with 100% submission to Mass DOT. We're looking to submit end of June on that. That's kind of a big step in the process. We were hoping, there's a lot of discussion on funding becoming available and earmark projects as well. So that seemed like a close to shovel-ready project that might have a good chance at getting an earmark with funding in the near future. But I think Mark heard some feedback that unless the city was offering to cover the 20% match, I don't know if it was going to get pushed forward. So it seems like we might have missed an opportunity there. So we'll have to wait for Mass DOT to fund the project. So that still may be a few years off in the future.
The 20% was on which part?
So typically it would still be a kind of a Mass DOT administered project.
Okay.
And any of those projects, the federal government funds 80% of it and the state funds 20% of it.
Right.
In the recent discussion on funding, the state wasn't willing to, or I guess it never got to that point where the state couldn't commit to the 20% funding. So I think they were asking for communities to commit to the 20% funding. So, in short order, and 20% is still a $1 million plus number for the city to commit. So it's just something that couldn't get pulled together and get everybody's agreement in the short order.
Gotcha. And just for clarification, this was specific to which piece of the project?
The entire Westfield River bike trail.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make that so it was kind of clear for everybody. So that would kind of really put us back on the whole project then.
Well, I mean, it was a potential to expedite the project.
Yes.
So, we're doing well with the design. There's some right-of-way pieces that still need to be done. So it would have been a pressure to get it done in that short time frame. But when you have money, you really need to jump on those things. And we were trying our best to make it happen, and it looks like it's not going to come through. So we're still going to push the project. We're still going to get everything, done and wrapped up. It's just now, and hopefully with more and more money coming from the federal government and new transportation bonds, that they're looking to increase the amount that goes through TIP projects. So, as the increased funding comes in, hopefully there's more opportunity to move us up in the schedule.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. Let's see. Does anyone have anything for the engineering department? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Jeremy. We'll move on to a report from DPW, Casey Berube, who is not present this evening. He had another commitment. So Casey had nothing major to report. He did have one item that things were progressing on the outfalls at Williams Riding Way, but there wasn't much to report. Jeremy, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, perhaps? On the
Yeah, I
outfall
mean, I've been involved a little bit. I think they're still working with the Wilgus family. We do have an easement through the property. The easement runs along the pipe. It's not the easiest way to get access to where they need to be. So certainly, rather than us driving through the field, I think they were trying to work with the Wilgus family on going outside the easement, just to make things easier for both them and us.
Right. But one other question, maybe you know this. Were they able to get the divers into the team anyway? Not divers, but the team to go through the pipe, walk the pipe, or no?
That's what they're trying to coordinate now. Again,
Okay.
even driving equipment out there, anything they need for walking up the pipe,
Right.
they're looking to use part of the Wilgus property. At least that's the last I heard.
Okay. Yeah, I had some back and forth with Casey and Joe about the contacts for Army Corps, because they were concerned about the Westfield River having releases from the two dams, the Army Corps dams upstream, and
Okay.
having their divers or their workers and equipment possibly at risk. And I facilitated that, so just a little bit out there for the info. That's pretty much it, I guess, for this section, unless somebody else has a question. Hearing none, I'll move on to item number 6, bills. So we do have a bunch of bills. And although we do not have a quorum, I do have the ability to sign bills for the commission. And our motion that we had voted and passed was that under the condition that we have situations where it was under an emergency situation, or we had a situation that evolved that we could not pay the bills due to a quorum or other issue, and they needed to be paid. So we have several bills here that have to be paid. Let me just flipping through all my paperwork here to make sure I've got each of them in front of me. Okay, there's that one. Let's see, there is that one.
I think there's 4 or 5. Let's see.
I have. Just trying to make sure I've got them all here.
I've got 3 copies. The only one I don't have is G&E. Tie and Bond
Yes,
is
I don't
one
have.
of them. Ed Lubevic is another, and F&M.
Correct.
FM Generator is another.
Yep.
And then G&E.
I'm just trying to make sure I've got all my pieces of paper together here. So we have our first bill is an invoice 91620 from Edward Lubelzik and Sons. They're our contractor for the mowing and grooming of the levee systems. It's dated 10/1/2020. There was in the fall, they weren't able to complete all of the mowing, but what they did complete, it says fall mowing of Little River Levee, Powder Mill, Brook Dam, Armbrook Dam, and Westfield River Levee. Completed everything but the riprap on the Westfield River Levee and sections in between the bridges. Purchase order number 2211198-00 for a total of $7,500. So I will, do we have any questions on this bill?
No question for me. I've got it right in front of me.
Okay. With that, I will pay said bill. We do need to pay it for work that was previously done. I will sign and take care of that and forward that to Mary Taus so it can be processed. I have another bill from Tie and Bond for our notice of intent work. Professional services rendered through 5/1/2021. Invoice number 052191106, dated 5/12/21. Project number 321822034. Purchase order number 2211998-00. And it's for services rendered this period were performed in accordance with agreement dated March 22nd, 2021, and purchase order, which I already read. Total amount due $4,676.36. So, as I said before, I will sign for this bill and forward it. Is there any questions regarding this bill?
No, I agree.
Okay, and again, that was for the notice of intent work that we had for Little River Levee's prospective work for us to start a clearing of an additional section of that levee to get a little piece of it to where it needs to be for future work and repairs and compliance with Army Corps regulation. I have another bill. This is for FM generator. This is for our generator services at the Williams Riding Way pump station. Invoice date is 4/30/21. Invoice number is 110781-1. And let's see, it is for oil by the gallon at let's see, for the diesel. There's a bunch of numbers, but the total price of topping off our emergency generator diesel tank was $950. And that will come from our supplies budget. So that $950 will be paid, and I will take care of that. Also to Mary Taus and get that bill taken care of. So those are the three bills that I have in front of me. We also have our regular monthly bill to Westfield Gas and Electric for the Williams Riding Way pump station's operation. That is a set bill of $165 per month. I do not have the invoice in front of me, but I will inform Mary Taus that the bill is to be paid, and I will take care of the bills payable for that as well. So we have those four bills that I am aware of. I do not have any other bills at this time, unless, Jeremy, you're aware of something I missed.
Nope.
Okay. So we have those four bills. I will sign for said bills under that signator authority that I have for emergency situations such as this. Again, we are short a commissioner, so therefore we do not have a quorum. We have two commissioners who resigned. So we're a commission of 5 under the ordinance change from 4 or 5 years ago. And unfortunately, 2 of our commissioners had to resign. So we are of 3, and we need all 3 for a quorum. But unfortunately, due to a medical situation, Mark Goodness, the vice chair, is not able to be here this evening. So we do not have a quorum. So I will be signing and paying for these bills under that signatory authority power. Moving on. I have item number 7, Williams Riding Way flood control pump station update. So we have a little bit of an update there. That is another bill that we have, and I don't see it in front of me, but I may have it here and overlooked it. So Williams Riding Way flood control pump station update. So there's one other thing that Mark Crissati put out to us was that there's $10,000 needed for the cost of repair of the sewage bypass gate valve at Williams Riding Way. At our last meeting, I had made an inquiry to Mark as to what was being covered and how it was being paid for, because it's been a little kind of out there as to what the costs were. And Mark had said that engineering was going to cover the full cost, and it wouldn't be a concern for flood control. But then in the interim between our last meeting and this meeting, Mark had sent me an email stating that $10,000 would be required of the Flood Control Commission to pay for that, but it was encumbered from last year's budget. But I'm not 100% clear on that. Jeremy, do you have any info
I know
on that?
that the work is complete. We were working with RH White on that effort. We were tracking the budget along the way. They said they were good on the budget, and what we didn't realize was they did some work the previous year with DPW to repair the catch basin down by the pump station.
Yes.
And that was kind of brought out of the expense for that project. So I know they went over budget slightly. I wasn't familiar with what Mark was talking with. Maybe he had used some engineering money along with flood commission money to initially authorize the project. And with the slight overage, maybe he was looking to use rather than use engineering funds since it's an effort down at the pump station, to use flood commission funds.
Right. Which would make sense. At
I
this
think maybe
point,
in previous years might have been short to get the project going, so he might have chipped in engineering funds.
right. Right. Well, we had in this budget, we had budgeted for that eventuality. There was some encumbered monies, but I don't know. I don't know the finer details of that, and I was hoping Mark was going to be here to explain it a little bit. But at this point, I don't have enough information to actually say to pay that, and we could possibly deal with it at our next meeting. I do have. Funny enough, I didn't realize Mary House had sent the invoice for Westfield Gas and Electric earlier today. It looks like she sent it at the end of the day, so that's why I didn't see it. So I do have the invoice for that. But going back to what I was saying, so yeah, I think for that amount, I think we'll need Mark to kind of discuss that a little bit more before we.
I agree 100%. Yeah, we want to make sure we know what we're doing, and if someone questions why we did it, we have all the answers on hand.
Right, Jack. I don't want to drag it out, but we're also trying to do a bunch of things with a little bit of money, and obviously we don't want to be going over budget, and I know we're cutting it really close with what we're trying to accomplish with Little River Levy, especially since we had some money that we kind of put up for the cost share for the grant that's out there for Little River Levy work on the drainage conduit repair. I believe that was, what was that, 17,000 and change.
Yep.
That we've kind
25%, I believe. The rest was done by the state.
It was 20%, so it was whatever 20% of that will cost. But we committed.
And when do you
that,
expect to have an answer on that, Al?
That's the problem. We didn't have a good timeline on an answer.
Okay.
My thought was, and call it an assumption, unfortunately, was that they would, because you had to commit, monies, and everybody understands how the government budget runs to the end of the fiscal year of July 1. They would have an answer for people with budgets that, you've got to commit money by such and such a time. Well, you would hope to have an answer before the end of the fiscal year. And how do you commit money to a project if you don't have a deadline before that? If you follow, it didn't make sense to me to have them drag it out beyond that, because how can you say you're going to have money in that next fiscal year for a cost share? But we did commit that money. It's kind of in virtuality because we don't really have an answer. So, and I had asked the mayor for a supplement to that to cover us just in case of that eventuality that we need that 17 and we don't have it.
Well, I'm sure you're aware that if you don't use it by the end of the fiscal year, it essentially
we lose it.
Goes away. So
right, and that's why we're kind of I hate to say double dip, but we double dipped a little bit here to try to get the stuff done for Little River Levy with Lou Belzic and Sons, which we'll be talking about shortly. Trying to just get those things taken care of, because that's what the funds were supposed to be for to begin with. Just trying to cover as far as the white bill,
I mean, that is their final bill. And I guess Mark can get back to you as far as the encumbering and switching around of money. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with that.
Right. Yeah,
but what you see for a bill should be the final bill.
Yeah, and I don't have an actual bill at this point for it, so I just had an email from Mark regarding it. Jack, do you have something you want to say?
No, I'm agreeing with what you're saying. We don't want to, again, I said it just a few minutes ago, we want to be cognizant of all the ins and outs before we commit. And I think, it's something that's important. Unfortunately, with the grants, how do we encumber some money there? Or, there was where we said, okay, here's what we applied for grant. That was for tie-in bonds. There was like 60-something thousand. I don't have the exact number in front of me. But right. If we don't get that, it's got to be in next year's budget.
Right.
And what are the potential of, I haven't heard anything from the mayor. Is that understood by him, and is that agreeable by him?
Right. And that was one of the things that I had stressed to the mayor in our meeting, that, the reasons why we had such a engineering expense in the budget proposal was to cover all these eventualities. And we had it written as contingencies if funding wasn't available this year, that we would have it for next year. trying to make sure we could cover these things before we have larger issues or a failing at Little River Levee, because we really need to get this thing fixed soon. The longer it deteriorates, the less likely we'll be able to line those drainage conduits in a satisfactory way for Army Corps. Because if they get to a certain point, and we've got to jump through a lot of hoops with Army Corps and the federal government to actually get the work done anyway. The cost will only be incredible if we have to actually dig the levee up and replace those.
That would be over $100,000. That'd be very expensive. I don't know if we could even swing that.
I think $100,000.
Not the way our budgets are going now. We don't have that kind of money.
No, I think $100,000
with other problems that we do have.
I think $100,000 would be a very, very low number based on what Army Corps had.
Oh, I know. I was being conservative. I don't want to shake anybody up.
Yeah.
So we got a problem there. I mean, we have things that have to be done. And the longer we wait, the worse conditions are becoming, and they're not getting any cheaper in the cost of either labor or materials. But also, what happens, these two culverts are rotted on the bottom. What if they come up, if they put it on off and off and off? What happens like a couple of years from now, they say, they're not repairable. You're going to have to dig them up. And that is going to be a major, major problem. The whole thing that really bothers me,
ahead,
if
Jim.
we didn't have water in that ditch, which we refer to as a canal, that was coming in from Ponder Hollow Road, if we didn't have water there, we were in need of the two culverts. I got that directly from an Army Corps of Engineers when they were out, not this last one, but the inspector before. I said, could we cut down to 1? He said, you could cut it down to 0 if you didn't have that water in that trench. And that water in that trench is storm drained from even the DPW. So it's a problem the city created for us. It really didn't have anything to do with the protection of function of a levee.
Right.
Because the levee is to contain the river from overflowing into the city. This is to take water from runoff and go through the two culverts under the dam and then dump it into the river. So it's a problem, really, that Flood Control Commission wouldn't have if they had put the storm drainage some other way.
Right.
I think that's factual, yes?
Yes. That is, I believe that was some of the conversation you and I had and bits and pieces I had gotten from others.
So we have a problem that, if this Little River levee started out after the 55 flood, so it really was constructed a year later, 56.
Yes.
So this is kind of old, and we don't own all the land that we built, that the Army Corps of Engineers built the levees on, and we have problems with culverts that are not maintained. Again, if you don't maintain them, they're going to fall apart. If they fall apart, you've got a problem financially as well as safety of the public. There's a public safety issue. I can't see why people aren't jumping on it. And don't forget, you're involved with the post office, you're involved with the Big Y, you're involved with the Boys and Girls Club, you're involved with a lot of other buildings that with a 100-year storm, we haven't had one of those in my lifetime, and I'm up there in age. If that happens, those are places that would be protected. I think it was 1955. Now, I can't do this for sure because I was in Europe with the Air Force in 55. But didn't one of the the dam, that's one of the Springfield Waterworks Reservoir, didn't they release water because of pressure? Not because the dam was going to fall apart, but because the pressure on it, they didn't want to take that chance. And that's when the river really went up Little River. And it got like 4 feet across. It used to be a telephone company. And now it's a safety transit company.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we're only talking about the bills. We're actually going to come back to this in a little bit, but I'm going to hold your thought there. Going back to the bills real quick. I did find that $10,000 bill. There is a purchase order. I did get one.
You did?
I did get one from Mark, but it's and it says the 10,000. It is, let's see. Install bypass, remove, replace, slide gate repair, catch basin, install new top vault, core access holes in the precast cover, $10,000. So there's a $10,000 amount there, dated for April. And
we're in May.
I asked Mark what this is for. Mark says the sewer bypass, the Williams right away flood control pump station used $10,000 of flood control funds. That is what is scheduled for. The rest is engineering funds. Okay.
So are you thinking now of
So we do have a bill.
Therefore, you're going to sign it?
We're going to have to pay it because it needs to be paid. I don't know how that's going to affect other matters. I think I did factor this in to my figures.
So it sounds like it was reversed. The engineering funded most of the work. I think we might have had some leftover money at the end of last fiscal year, so we moved forward with it using the majority of our funds. And I think Mark may be looking for it went slightly over this year, so he's looking to use some of your money this year to finish it up.
Right, that makes more sense.
Well, I would think we should pay it because it is property that belongs to the Flood Control Commission.
Right.
It's not engineering property. And therefore, for $10,000, seeing it's our responsibility, and you have an invoice from Mark, and we've been cognizant of it for a period of time, then I would agree if you're willing to sign it, to sign it.
Yeah. We can't vote on it, but I'm gonna pay it because it needs to be paid.
We can't vote on it, but we're doing it the same as you did the other bill.
Correct. That's exactly what I'm doing. I am actually printing that out now as we speak. And I will pay for that bill, and then I'm pretty sure I factor that into what we had for available funds. But I wanted Mark to speak to it a little bit more so we kind of better understood what had occurred there.
Again, seeing it's our property, it belongs to Flood Control Commission, $10,000 is reasonable if the engineering's paying even a greater amount.
Absolutely.
I think originally I was agreeing with you, we hold off the mark, but you said since that comment was made by me, you found the bill.
Yeah, I had to go back. I was going back to the emails just to check, and I thought I had actually printed out that, but I guess I had. But anyway, we have it. It's going to be taken care of, and I'll square that.
I would agree. Take care of it. Sign it.
Yeah.
Under
Jeremy,
emergency because we don't have a quorum.
Right. Hang on one second, Jack. Jeremy, you were going to say something?
Well, I was going to note, the overall cost was just over $70,000 for the work. So
right.
It does sound like Mark funded a majority of it with the engineering funds from last year.
Yes. So yes, and that's a huge thank you to engineering. Mark has done this in the past, working on the Williams Riding Way rehab process. That pump station was in terrible shape, and I know engineering and DPW pooled resources to help rehabilitate that facility on a shoestring budget. So, this is just a continuing show of city departments pulling together to make things happen with limited resources. And given the fact that, most of the flood control systems in the city were essentially ignored for decades, we've made a lot of headway in just less than a decade. So, but we still have a long way to go. And I commend the engineering department, Mark Rosati, you, Jeremy, Matt Gamelli, Mary Taus, and the other engineers who are, I don't know if they're still attached to your department directly, but a lot of people have worked on all this stuff to pull these things together. So, thank you for.
Yeah, I agree with you. We've come a long way as a commission, except for Little River Levee. Yes. We haven't done anything for Little River Levee, actual work, construction. We have programs, we have ideas, we have motions, but we haven't had any physical work done.
No.
On Little River.
And that's our biggest problem, but we're getting there slowly. Okay, so let's move along. So I'll take care of that bill. Let's see. So we talked, we kind of jumped into old business and went back to the bill because I remembered at the last second. We'll close out item number 7, Williams Riding Way Flood Control Pump Station. Move on to item 8, Powder Mill Brook and Armbrook Flood Control Dam Rehabilitation Project updates. So as of right now, everything is still kind of in a holding pattern. I know that there are the contractor meetings with NRCS and the city that typically have taken place every month, and they've all been being postponed, waiting on further information. I think there's still a lot of moving pieces going on at the federal levels, as well as the city still has to figure out where it's getting the funds to pay for those programs. I know from bits and pieces of information I've gotten, the mayor is looking at using some possible future funds from state aid or federal aid that may help the city pay for a substantial portion of those costs for our cost share portion of Arm Brook and Powder Mill Brook's rehabilitation of those two dams. They are both considered federal high hazard dams because if they fail, the amount of damage and loss of life potential is at the high end of the spectrum. So they are both considered high hazard dams. Not that they're at risk of failing, but in the event that they fail, the damage and loss of life would be considered catastrophic by federal standards. You're looking at the two dams protect one of them protects the Mass Pike. They protect Route 20. They protect US 202 and State Route 10. They protect the Boston Albany Railroad corridor. They protect the Pioneer Valley Rail Yard, the industrial area on the north side, and all the residences between the Westfield River and Sandy Hill, all the way down Union Street down to Frog Hollow. There's a large area and a lot of lower income folks that live in that area as well. They were put in place after the 55 flood because of flooding issues, and damage occurred due to the intense flooding in that storm, and those prevent that from happening. So they both need rehab. They're past their design life of 50 years. They have a number of issues, Powder Mill far more than Arm Brook. And the long-term plan is to bring them up to current specifications to meet or exceed the demands that they have now. Actually, they would exceed what the demands are now based on the information that NRCS has. So they would provide a level of safety for many years beyond what their need is now. So if the way they had designed it was that if the area was fully built out based on current zoning that the city has for that north side, they would be able to handle all the water inflow to them in a 100-year storm event without failure or problems. And the designs that we selected were reasonably priced given the costs of the other designs that they had. They were the most affordable and most logistically understandable projects. So that's me babbling a lot about what's going on. If anyone has any other questions, please feel free to contact me directly, and I will fill you in on all of the details. With that, Jack, do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, I think I said a few things already.
Jeremy, do you have anything you'd like to say or add to that? On Powder Mill or Arm Brook?
No.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 9, Little River Levee update, drainage repair proposal, and eminent domain issues. Request to mayor and city council for funds to acquire portions of Little River Levee and apply for EEA grant match funds for design, wetland delineation, and permits. So we did speak to that a little bit out of queue, only because it kind of tied in a little bit with something else. So I have nothing officially in front of me regarding where we stand with the purchase of land. I know, Jeremy, you said something that Mark was working a little bit on that, but I have nothing official at this point from anyone, or that we have any funds to pursue that. The request we had made was for remaining funds from the fiscal year for the city, possibly using those funds to cover those costs and to cover the 17.5 cost share for the EEA grant. And I have not heard anything on that. And given the time of the year at this point in the budget, I don't know if we will see that, but it's possible. I know the mayor is trying to juggle a lot of things at this time, so I'll leave it to him to kind of go with that. And Jeremy, you said Mark was kind of still working on it with legal.
Yeah, but I think legal had direction to move forward on the eminent domain taking. So you can only move forward when the mayor's agreed to the funding. So
exactly.
And if legal's moving forward, then that would mean the mayor's, however, whether we have existing funds or free cash or whatever, sounds like that is moving forward.
Well, that's good news. Well, I'll take it for that. I I appreciate that. And if you want to pass it on to Mark to just kind of touch base with me and let me know where we stand, it would be good to kind of let everybody know what's going on. I know Army
Corps. I have a couple of concerns relative to the obtaining of the land.
Go ahead, Jack.
One, parcel number 4, section number 4, is critical to what Ty and Bond will be doing in drawing up the specs for the contractor bid. That's where you're going to put the trash rack, but we don't own enough land in there to put a trash rack appropriately, to the best of my understanding. And then also that's where the equipment will come in to do the relining, if the relining is still possible with all that basic rust going on. We have to make sure it's qualified to use relining. So we need that number 4, definitely. If it takes over 2 years, we're going to be jammed up, because where does Ty and Bond wrap it up if they don't have the land that we own to do, as I said, the trash rack and to move in the equipment? That's part number 1. The second thing is, all I know is there's $120,000 for 6 parcels or 6 sections. What is the cost for each one of the 6? Because they're going to go to different places. So when we are writing the money out of our appropriations from flood control, how much is going to section 4? How much to section 2, et cetera, et cetera. So therefore, I haven't got that information. Have you?
I have not.
Okay, then people are going to say, well, what did you pay for?
Hold on one second, Jack.
5?
Jack, hold on one second. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, we have those numbers, but I mean, you're looking to do all the acquisitions at one point. So, I mean, yeah, certainly we can share the numbers for each parcel if needed.
I definitely would request that you do that. Do it officially if you need it that way, or as a gentleman, I heard you say that, so I would ask that we would be given the numbers for each of the 6 and forward it to Al, and Al disseminates it to the commission. It only has to go to commission because it's something that, I don't think somebody's going to be losing their property, want everybody to know what they got or didn't get, but we should know it, because if questions come up, we should be cognizant of it. And I would hesitate to vote for something at $120,000, and I don't know what each of the 6 are worth of that $120,000. To me, that is not very logical. In all the years of politics, I've never done that before. I always want to know what's going on, and I would be able to explain it to people. And when you say $120,000, if somebody says, well, how about the part where you put the trash rack? I don't know. No, I'm not going to be that way. I'm not going to say I don't know. I'm going to say, what are the numbers? And I would appreciate if you would forward them to us. Jeremy.
Yeah. When the eminent domain goes into city council, there'll be a summary of damages, and the damages are what each owner is getting compensated for.
Right.
And they all total up to the $120,000.
Understandable.
Do we have to wait till it goes to city council?
No. I mean, we'll be drafting. Law will be drafting up the paperwork. I know there is one. Mark's may be aware of it. I think the appraisals aren't public information, but certainly the values that we're compensating everybody will be public information.
Right. Well,
but we're not. We're talking about a commission asking for it, not the general public. The commission who is coming out of their budget or our budget, seeing where they're there.
Yeah, no, certainly it's not a big deal to share the value of each one. I don't think we can share the appraisals, but again, you're looking to acquire all those parcels, and the total cost is $120,000. I'm not sure why it matters who's getting what part of the package. It's all based on a certified appraiser who comes up with values.
Right. We paid $4,000 for that to be done out of the flood control budget months ago.
That's all required by the eminent domain process.
Right. So that we've already done that part. So seeing that the appraisals were done under the $4,000 under the flood control, I think that we should get more than $120,000 complete total. They should be, to us, broken down so we can say, oh yeah, good move. Or if someone questions us, we can, as far as legally, explain why we did what we did.
Are you suggesting you only want to acquire some of the parcels?
No. I want to know what each one costs in the 120. We got to acquire all 6 because they're land that the levy is built on. No, acquire all.
Yep.
I'm just asking for a clarification of how this $120,000 came out. What parts did parcel 4 do in that $120,000? 5, 6, 3, whatever.
Right. Jeremy, I think what had happened, just to give you a little backstory, because I know you haven't been in the meetings, but there was motions made a couple times by Jack actually to get some numbers. So we had something for the commission. So we had numbers to say, okay, we know what each parcel's cost is. It all makes sense. And that was what some of that confusion a while back kind of came from. We were trying to get parameters of, okay, we know what these parcels are. We want to know exactly what these parcels are. So it makes sense to us that so the commission is in agreement with what is being told to us by engineering. So there's no discrepancies and there's no, oh, well, we forgot after the fact. Oh, we should have known. We're trying to avoid that so we're all on the same pages. And then if Army Corps has questions, we can say to Army Corps, okay, well, here's X, Y, Z down the road. Because the long-term goal is to get the entirety of the levy, not the segments, but the entirety of the levy to at least Army Corps' minimum standards. So perhaps in the future, we could be eligible to get the whole thing enrolled in the Army Corps' rehab program, which would be a 2080 cost share of repair, which would be huge for us. I mean, again, it's another one of those projects where if we get everything and get all of our ducks in a row and start putting the pieces in places now, Army Corps will say, look, these guys are serious. They want to get this fixed. And that might open us up to other things as well.
Yeah.
Because
certainly, like I'm sure it's been discussed, owning it is the first step. So
exactly. And that's,
and I definitely want to acquire all 6 parcels.
Yeah.
But I want to be cognizant of what each partial amount is in that $120,000. As a member of a commission, I think I have that right. Seeing it's coming out of the budget, which I will be voting for or against.
Okay.
So,
is there a problem with that, by the way?
No, it just really it's the cost to acquire the levy is $120,000. I guess the breakout, not a big. I don't think it's a big deal to provide it. Just I'm not sure.
Well, I think when you get the $120,000, you're not just throw $120,000. Each of those parcels is owned by a different owner, and therefore you're cutting a check from the $120,000 the city is after our vote to an individual. And so if parcel 4, which is the real key one to me, because that's where you're going to be working to do this culvert work, because that's where the trash rack will go, and that's where you're going to put the equipment to do the relining. And you have to own it before you can go in there and put your equipment on top of it and start pushing stuff through the pipes, or to put a trash rack. But right now, we just about own to where the end of the culvert is, the inflow part. If you went out a foot, I think we're out of our ownership. We're into whoever owns that parcel 4. So it is important that we get these things moving so we don't jam up Ty and Bond when they want to move in and do things. Because I'm quite sure a firm like Ty and Bond is not going to put a trash rack on property you don't own. They're going to say, well, here's what I want. Do you own that property? We want to say, yeah, but we got to go all this stuff through. Right. That's my concern. If you have any questions on Jeremy, I'll be glad to answer them.
No, like I said, keep it moving forward.
Okay.
Good. We appreciate your cooperation. I'm just trying to be logical in the moves I make because I'm voting on something. I have to account for what I vote on. That's part of being a commissioner.
And just Jack, Jeremy. Jack is. I appointed him a commissioner or committee of one because Army Corps. Little River Levy is his focus. That's something he was really very vocal about when he joined the commission, and that's his biggest goal. So, I give him. He's done a lot of work trying to get stuff done, and with his experience, I trust his experience and knowledge on just reviewing these things. We just want to make sure everything's right, so when we get down the road, we don't find that we missed a step or missed something that becomes a problem for Army Corps down the road. Like I said, we're trying to make sure we have everything ready to go. So when we get an opportunity, and I know we're going to, at some point, given the climate change stuff, all the grants with flood control, there's a big push for flood control improvements. I want to get into it as fast as we can so we can get this stuff done and possibly even expand on. We understand that there are shortfalls in that defense, that line of defense along from Coles Bridge to that levee. Army Corps kind of built that as a stopgap and had a larger plan in the 70s that the city passed on that would have provided a much larger protection for downtown Westfield. And it's unfortunate, but there's nothing to say that that can't be looked at in the future. Or other upgrades, kind of, stabilize the that shoreline, because from Coles Bridge to that levee is not the railroad berm that was once there is that went from the former New York, New Haven, Hartford rail line, which is now the bike trail. It went all the way to the Stevens paper mill. That berm is mostly non-existent. There's pieces you can see here and there, but we have utility lines running on a portion of it or most of it. But that was the line, and it wouldn't take too much to at least look into upgrading that and give us that defense in the event that Cobble Mountain has to have an emergency release. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of what happened in 55, the mill, if you will, if you know where that is, at Coles Bridge. Yep. There used to be a big smokestack and a big wall, and there's a picture I have of it, and I can forward it to you. I think it's in the annual report, but of just a mountain of water blasting through there and blowing through that and filling that whole parking lot and going down South Maple as a wall of water. Putting in something there for long-term protection would be good in the future, but fixing Little River Levee is the first step.
And we also got the pressure of our current budget ends at the end of June, and July starts a new budget.
Right.
Our new budget, we don't know for sure what's going to happen with $120,000. Is that going to come out of this year by the mayor asking for appropriation from, I think free cash is already used up, from some other source? Or is he going to put that in as a major important part of our new budget, our next year's budget? And the same happens to other things like, are we going to have the amount of money that we need to pay tie-in bonds? Or is it going to be some kind of a goof up so that this budget doesn't have it because we're looking for that EAA grant or whatever it is? Right. There's a problem there when we've got literally 1 month to play with, and if it messes up where they don't transfer the money we need into a new budget, assuming they can't get the things that they're trying to do in this budget.
Right.
And that's another year.
Right. And we don't want to have we don't want to have a situation where we're dragging out pieces of this, because they all fit together in the bigger puzzle to get that. Well,
looking at those two culverts, anyway. So looking at the erosion that's going on there, the Little River I'm referring to.
Yep.
I think we've already pushed our limits on how much you can wait. We're playing a dangerous game, especially if there was a 60-year flood. I know the thing's built with the idea of the post office and all with a 100-year flood, but we haven't had a 100-year flood. You don't have that term unless occasionally you can get it. And there are a lot going on down in the southern states. Take a look at it.
Right.
Who's to say a major hurricane doesn't come up the coast in the latter part of the hurricane season? That's when we get them sometimes. And we missed one, I think it was 30-something miles away. Right. What happens when it comes right over us?
And we got lucky last summer as well. We had a couple.
You can't keep getting lucky. And I don't think too many people who had their properties flooded out would say, "Oh, you were basing on luck? What kind of a commission are you?"
Right.
Well, I got some bad news.
Go ahead.
I was quickly catching up on all my emails. I was reading one on the levee takings.
Yes.
And, there was actually 2 friendly takings with Eversource on the Westfield River levee. So that's the one that Shannon was pushing in June.
Gotcha.
So there was they had an old transmission line along the Westfield River. The towers are no longer there. So they're willing to give us the properties, but they wanted us to do it by friendly take. So
gotcha.
What I said before about moving forward in June with the Little River levee takings, that was incorrect.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you checked.
That was what? I missed the last words.
That was for the Westfield River levee. So there is no action at this time for Little River levee on land.
Well, we got a month, and then something's got to be done, or we're going to have a problem.
Right. Well, hopefully we'll have some answers in the near future. But Jeremy, the spots you're talking about, where exactly are those spots on the
There were
Westfield River levee?
two. One was just west of the overlooks, the Esplanade area that we refer to.
Yep.
And there was another one over by Hanover Street in that area.
Okay.
Again, I think
I know exactly.
Eversource or whatever their former companies,
Yes.
Northeast Utilities, they had a transmission line that ran along the river.
Yes.
I think in the 70s they upgraded it and took out those towers.
Right. Yeah,
So
I'm familiar with that. The remnants of what's there.
Yep. Yeah. So the parcels that are along our levee that they didn't need, so we're going to acquire those.
Perfect.
At zero cost.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a win-win. Okay, so I think we kind of covered it as best I can. I know we talked about tie and bonds bill. We're going to pay that. Moving on to hold on, wait a minute. Let me make sure I didn't miss something. Yeah, no, that's everything. Item 10, update, notice of intent for tree clearing and debris removal on portion of Little River Levee. So on May, next week, hold on, I got to check the date. Is it May 25th? May 25th, we have a hearing before the Conservation Commission regarding the notice of intent to do some clearing on Little River Levee between Ponders Hollow Road and the drainage conduits and removal of trees. 7 trees specifically, but all of the trees in that general vicinity over the long-term plan, and brush and clearing.
And clear the debris, tree debris out of the
debris from the river, correct?
The 2 culverts, which is very important because that's going to do Ty and Bond's going to have to do a bathymetric study, and I don't know how they can do it easily anyway, even efficiently with all the stuff that they're going to have to go through to try to find out where the solid part of that riverbed is.
Right. Yeah. The amount of debris.
Also, there's a problem that's going through my mind. We got whirlpools in that river too. What effect will that have on cofferdams and stuff? We got some problems.
Yeah, I think with the cofferdam project, because that'll come in at a different point under a different notice of intent. But I think that would be something they would manage. They'd have to manage, but that's probably going to be a lot more intense than what we're looking at right now, because that's not part of this notice of intent. This is just removal.
No, it isn't, but it's part of the overall project.
Yes. Yeah.
When the contractor comes in, they've got to have those cofferdams. And when I read the proposal from Ty and Bond, they're going to put on their diagrams or their schematics potential positions for putting the cofferdams. So if they're going to do that, they probably want to be cognizant of the fact that there's getting whirlpool action that we didn't have 2-3 years ago, to the best of my knowledge.
Right. No, we didn't have that. We had some minor eddy action, but we didn't have what we have now. Most of that resulted
and that's important if you're going to put, because that's making the base go down lower of the river.
Yep.
Like I said, there's a lot of problems. We're going to start solving those, or they're going to be so great that we're going to really have fiscal problems doing it. And again, the key word when I was on the city council was public safety.
Right.
And I'll stop there.
Fair enough. So going back to just the details. So we're going to go before ConsCom on Tuesday. Steve Stroke will be there. We'll go through the process. I don't foresee any major stuff. I had a lot of conversation with Belzic and Sons about what they would be using if they are contracted to do the work. And Jeremy, do you know if you or Mark will be at that meeting?
Mark should be there. I think, Ty and Bond will probably take the lead in presenting the project.
Yes.
I think I would assume they'll have a wetland person there along with Steve if he's going to be there. So I think you'll be well covered as far as a presentation and somebody knowing the regulations well.
Yes.
This is a Zoom meeting, correct?
Yes, this will be a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
So I don't have any of the details yet because I don't believe they've been generated, because they have to. I believe their agenda will probably get posted in the next few days.
Yeah, the biggest hurdle with notice of intents is the state also has to issue a file number and comments.
Yeah.
So
we got the file number comments, I believe. Okay. We got the file number, I know. I see a copy of it.
Yeah, we have they had responded. I do have that information. So we do have a file number. We do have that preliminary step taken care of.
That's good.
Um,
Yeah, they
based-
can't close the hearing without that.
Right. And because of what we're doing and what we're not doing, we're not actually removing the stumps, disturbing the ground other than minor surface vegetation under 4-inch diameter trees and such. It wouldn't be affecting water quality issues. And that is for the larger project with the culverts. That's going to entail both federal and state permits, and it'll be much more involved would be the best word to describe it all. But anyway, so we have that coming up on the 25th. I don't know exactly what the time is yet, but can be discussed outside of this meeting. Moving on, item number 11 under old business, Flood Control Commission budget fiscal year 2022. So we kind of discussed it intermittently throughout the entire meeting. I don't have any clear numbers as to what is going on with the budget. I have made inquiry several points in the last few months, and I know there's we're getting close to the wire for the budget discussions to start actually happening. But I don't have any actual details. So at this point, it's just sit and wait, and hopefully we'll hear something soon from the mayor's office.
That's the same with us.
Yep, that's my understanding. We're not alone.
Yeah.
So I know the mayor's trying to parse out a lot of different things financially for the city. So I know he'd asked for a level funding from all the departments, and for us, we didn't ask for level funding. We actually asked for double what we would have been funded from last year. But that's given that we're trying to make up for multiple decades of complete neglect or near complete neglect of flood control infrastructure. And we're trying to, we've got a lot of engineering stuff that we have to put in place just to get some of this work started and get balls moving so we can be shovel ready. At least that's the hope. We can be somewhat close to shovel ready if opportunities arise where we can get cost shares, such as the EA grant or other cost shares from Army Corps or other federal agencies like FEMA, as I had done early on when I got on this commission with our Powder Mill and Arm Brook dams. The opportunity was presented to me, and I pushed it as hard as I could. And we got us enrolled in the rehab of Arm Brook and Powder Mill, which 65-35 cost share is still pretty good. Rather than footing $20-odd million bill to rehab 2 dams, we're going to be spending less than hopefully $5 million to rehab the 2 dams. So good times. So anyway. Moving on to new business. Item 12, plaques for retirement of Henry Warshall and Barry Plumley. So we had discussed at our last meeting briefly about having plaques made for the retirement of 2 long-time and very committed commissioners that we've had. Henry Warshall, his name, you just got to say his name. Anybody who's ever met Henry or heard of Henry knows Henry. That man has spent many, many, many years doing things for Westfield and for this commission. And Barry Plumley as well. Barry himself he served in the military in Korea. Very well regarded and respected man in town. He also committed many years to this commission, and to both of them, we owe a debt of gratitude for all the work that they did, trying to keep the flood control infrastructure from deteriorating further. The least we can do is provide them with a token of our appreciation. And I did get some preliminary costs from a award company in Springfield of roughly $75 for each. They would be on either a faux wood or black plastic backing with a brass plate engraved with the seal of the city of Westfield and the Flood Control Commission and some script denoting their years of service. and appreciation for that service. So it would be a cost less than $150. And I believe we had made a motion in the last meeting. We can't vote on it, but I believe we made a motion to pay up to, was it 150, Jack, or 250? I don't have my note right in front of me. It's buried underneath.
I don't have the note either.
15 pages. 15 pages of stuff I have in front of me here. My desk is a little cluttered at the moment with all my flood control stuff because I was trying to find that oddball thing. So anyway, I have numbers. I'll push forward on that. And in the event that we cannot use flood control supplies to pay for that, I still have to talk to Tammy Teft about that. If we cannot, the commissioners did agree to pay out of pocket for it, because it's just the right thing to do for those gentlemen.
Right.
So with that, I will move on to paper and ink supplies expense. Since we cannot vote on this, I'll just say that this would be for the paper and ink supplies that I use here at home for all the printing that I do. I know the city has paper and there's other stuff, but logistically for me to get paper and ink and chase paper at City Hall and have stuff printed and get that with my daily schedule, it just doesn't work. It's just easier for me to do it from home. I broke out a 3-month figure. I won't go into the figures this evening, but I have figures for both a 3-month supply of paper, which should cover the fiscal year for next year. Excuse me 1 second. I just have to say goodnight to my daughter. Pie, love you. You go to bed, be a good girl. I know, Daddy's got to shave. Good night, sweetie pie. All right. All right. Good night, sweetie pie. Okay, another hug. All right. Go to bed. Be good. Did you brush your teeth? Okay. Good night, sweetie. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay. So yeah. So I broke out 3-month cost, and it would supply all the ink and paper for next year. It was, I believe it was a little over $200. I got to double check, but we'll go over the figures in our next meeting since we can't really vote on it anyway. Let's see. Motions relative to the removal of 7 trees and brush from Little River Levee. Again, we cannot vote on this, but Lou Belzic and Sons, at our request, had wrote up some numbers for us for what it would cost to do various levels of work. Let's see. Okay,
You're looking for the numbers?
Yep, I just have to.
Is 5,000
I have them right here,
7
Jack.
trees removal, 500 for clearing the debris from the outlet flow in the river, and $3,000, and it's a lot of words, for removing brush and the grubbing. If you look down from standing on the levee, if you look to the left, it's going down the pathway all the way to the road.
Right.
And it's on both sides. It actually is the levee area.
So what I have here is I have one for the minimal version, which is mulching and grinding of brush and small trees on Little River Levee from the riprap to the road on one side, which is the river side of the levee, to Ponders Hollow Road, and then from Ponders Hollow Road to the parking area on the protected side. So it would be to where our current access point to Little River Levee is for the equipment for clearing. So that's $3,000 for mulching of small brush and small trees under 4-inch diameter. And then the mulchings would be left on the inboard side, not on the outboard side, so they would not be affecting water quality. And that was for $3,000. That would be a minimal to clear the brush and debris from that area. Then he has another one for the cutting of the 7 unmarked trees and removal of wood from Little River Levee. And that is to cut down the 7 trees that we previously identified and remove oddball wood from the levee structure in that same section of $5,000. Then there is a third one, which would be possibly combined with the first one, which is removal of the 7 trees and removal of wood from Little River Levee, which is $5,000, plus clean out of the discharge area of the 2 drain pipes that are under Little River Levee, which is the debris at the outfalls, which would be $500 to remove as much of the debris as he can feasibly reach. So one of the questions and issues would be his equipment being able to reach all of the debris, but he believes he can get most of the debris out without causing an issue with Conscom concerns about equipment in the water and water quality issues with soil erosion, etc. So essentially, he'd just be pulling debris out without destroying the riverbank and putting his equipment at risk. But he believes he can get a good amount of it, not all of it, but a good amount of it out to clear the outfalls enough so the outfalls are free and clear debris. And he would remove that debris from the river area, and then possibly disposal was discussed with Casey about DPW disposing of it through their means. So in theory, looking at the 3 amounts, we would possibly, to get the most bang for our buck, if we can afford it with the remaining budget, we would be combining the $3,000 with the $5,500 for a total of $8,500, which is under the $10,000 threshold for bidding. And he is our current contractor for mowing and grooming on the levees. So this would get us on the path to getting some of the issues addressed by Army Corps of removing the 7 trees that we need to clear, removing the debris from the outfalls, and then in addition, starting the clearing process from where we currently maintain to Ponders Hollow Road and making that section of levee closer to being in compliance with the clearing requirements of Army Corps' regulations. Even though that's not currently part of the Army Corps' area, it would definitely go to show that we're working to get there. And it would also enhance the accessibility for the repairs coming in the future. Long-term plan is to look at removing the rest of the trees from that area without removing the stumps, which is one of the concerns that Army Corps and Conscom and the state.
I think we lost Al.
Yeah, the power just flickered here at City Hall, so I think he's in the area of City Hall as well, so maybe he lost power.
And we lost Jack too. I don't see Jack on here either. Oh.
Just you and me.
Is that it?
Meeting over.
I guess so. Meeting adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Hey, I'm leaving.
I think I am as well.
Good seeing you, Jeremy.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Okay. Yeah, no, it was there in the
going on to the meeting.
Are you? Or are you near
Could
the
be.
airport, Jack? They're flying. I can hear them here down at my house.
Oh, I'm on Broad Street across the lumber company right near the fire station. I'm not near the airport. You know, he's going to have to redial the whole system from the beginning. Because they just shut us off. Okay. This is a tough meeting. We got one commissioner sick in the hospital, or at least emergency room. We can't vote on money expenditures, and now we got knocked off by whatever electrical problem.
I'm back. Yeah, no, power went out and I just got it all back. Yep, no problem. Okay, perfect, Jack. All right.
I'm here.
Peter. Okay, so for everyone that's still watching, we just had a power surge here in Westfield and power went out for a bit. So we lost a few of people. I just got back on myself. My apologies to everyone.
You should have paid that electric bill sooner, Al.
Yes. I see we lost Jeremy as well. So let's see. I don't know what parts of the city lost power, but I'm guessing with the heat. Yeah, I'm on the south side, so. Yeah, I'm sure with everybody running AC, it's probably pushed
There's
something.
a flash of light down toward the post office.
Yeah. Yep. So, well, good times. All right. So, well, I was saying that we're looking at $3,000 plus $85 or $35 or $5,500 combination to be approximately $8,500 in total, assuming that we can afford that with our remaining budget to clear debris and brush from a small portion of Little River Levee. And that would go to showing the Army Corps that we are serious about making repairs. It would also go to clear out the area that's going to be required for future work on the levee. And it would also provide a better access route for operations on the levee, as you should be able to drive along the top of the levee to observe and see maintenance and issues are not developing. So yeah, so we're looking at that. We can't vote on it, obviously, because we do not have a quorum. So we have that. Jack, is there anything?
It'd be important for the meeting next month, though, right? The first week of next month or next week?
Next week, yes.
That would be one of the priorities, I would hope, because that's ultra important.
Yes. That is our goal, to get that done. And we'll know more next week anyway, because we have our notice of intent meeting. So hopefully we can do them back to back. And if there's any issues, we can do the ConsCom meeting, and then the following day, if everything works, or the day after that, we can have our meeting and hopefully iron out those details and get it underway. Let's see. Moving on to annual contract signature authority for commissioners to sign bills. So again, we cannot vote on this, but it would be to essentially reauthorize myself and possibly one or more commissioners to sign for the bills in the event of a situation where emergency signature is required, depending on how the commission votes. It could just allow for, based on the rules, the city rules, it could allow for a person or persons from the commission to sign for the bills at any point in time. But based on conversations that our commission has had, that would not make sense or be appropriate from a fiscal responsibility and oversight format. Yeah, I'm kind of just rambling because I'm still kind of scrambled from what just happened here. So long story short, it's just for oversight. So we're making sure everybody's doing the right thing and nobody's just signing for stuff without going through the rest of the commission.
Well, I think when the commission has a chance, like obviously they don't have it tonight's meeting, is
Right.
that the commission will still vote on things, but there'll be certain people authorized to sign for them.
Correct.
And then we don't need the whole commission, obviously, to sign. So I thought, I mentioned it earlier at some other meeting, that it would be the chairman and the vice chairman would be authorized to do the actual signing after the commission had approved it. Or if it was an emergency situation, then the chair and the vice chair. Only one of them, the chair, and then if he's not, or she is not available, then the vice chair.
Correct. And that's what we had approved last year. But because of COVID, we did it very late in the year for that emergency
Correct.
signatory. So that's why it's come up again, and we're kind of talking about it now, because it's July 1 that starts over, and we need to get that paperwork taken care of. So, but last
Right.
year we were dealing with COVID and no meetings, so it kind of set everything back. So I'll just read it real quick. So all departments, Tammy Teft, Director of Purchasing, Contract Signature Authority, current head of department contractor signature authorization form needs to be on file in purchasing office for fiscal year 22. Please read the instructions of the accompanying form, et cetera, et cetera. For delegation to be effective, it must be voted by a board or commission at a regular meeting and then signed by all. Oh, it's got to be a regular meeting. Oh, that kind of changes things. I didn't. Yeah. Okay, I guess we can't do it until June. And then signed by all of the members. For department heads to be a single individual, you need to be done. All that needs to be done to be filled out. The delegation is good through the end of the fiscal year, but must be renewed each June, or B, when the department head changes, i.e. new person appointed to the board, or for a department without a board or commission, new chief administrative officer. This delegation will be effective through June 30th, 2022. No one is required to delegate to the authority to sign contracts. The party that delegates the authority is still responsible party under the applicable laws. Subdelegation of desire passing on his or her authority to another is not permitted. Delegation authority can always be withdrawn, but purchasing must be notified immediately if contract authority is withdrawn. Departments are limited to no more than 2 individuals to, I guess, okay, I thought it was 3, but I guess 2 individuals to whom contract signing authority may be delegated. The range of delegation for each may be different, but be clear on the face of the form. Your department must maintain a copy. So there's the rules. I thought it was 3, but I guess it's 2. So yeah, there's that. Now, moving on to contract bid for mowing and grooming of the Westfield Flood Control Commission flood control properties. So we also have up for renewal our contract bid to mow and groom the properties. So our current contractor is Ed Lubelzik and Son, and they do a very good job. I've never had any complaints about any of the work that they've done in prior years. However, it does have to go out to bid as a requirement. So it's a sealed bid. It is not open to interpretation by us. So it's a typical city bidding process. And it would be the contract period for these items is for 1 full year effective date, 9/1/2021 to 8/31/2022. But it would have additions for a 2nd and 3rd year option. And with that, it would be we'd go through the proper city bidding process, and then we'd be notified of it. And hopefully, the bidding process works out. This does set us back a little bit, not being able to vote on it this meeting, but still we have plenty of time between now and the end of the fiscal year when this is due. But we do want to get this out there. Moving on to item number 17, communications. So communications, I have from the Erin Baroni from the Westfield River Watershed Association. She appreciates the Westfield. I'm sorry, let me read it. Dear friend, this is a thank you for helping us with the Westfield River cleanup last weekend. The Westfield River Watershed Association appreciates your help in keeping our streams, rivers, and banks clean. Our next event is the annual Ladderfish Open House on Sunday, May 23rd, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Front Street, West Springfield on the Westfield River. We will be sending out an email with more information soon. We invite you to join our organization if you would like. I won't go into the rest of the details. But the mailing address is a PO here in Westfield. And for more information, it's www.wfwr.org. westfield.org/membership.html. And I will post that on our Facebook page, our Facebook page, if anyone would like to get any more information on that, or you can email me or contact me, however you feel free to. So again, that's from Ann Baroni of the Westfield River Watershed Association. Again, that was a great day, the Earth Day cleanup. And it was, I think that was probably the best turnout I've seen for Earth Day. If it's not the best, it's very close. The number of people that showed up and the number of groups that showed up, and residents here in town and from outside the city came and helped clean up the river, and it really was a nice day for everybody. And it was great to see a lot of that stuff picked up. And, we had a lot of departments get together, did a great job. Fran Kane was out during the day with cleaning up stuff right out of the gate. He was out there picking up stuff, and it's things like this that make a community that much better. Other communications I have. Communication from, this is what we were talking about earlier, from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, the EEA, Department of Environmental Protection, Western Regional Office. Dated May 6, 2021, notification of Wetlands Protection Act file number. The Department of Environmental Protection has received a notice of intent filed in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, subsection 40. Applicant, Westfield Flood Control. 59 Court Street, Westfield, Mass. Locus is Ponders Hollow Road. The project has been assigned the following file number. File number WE333-0804. A file number only indicates that the application contains the minimal submittal requirements and is administratively complete, not that the information in the application is adequate for issuance of an order of conditions. Although the file number is being issued, please note the following. 1. As the parties are aware, this work has been submitted for a limited project, which means the Commission may waive the performance standards for such work that cannot fully comply with the performance standards. 2. Please note, the Little River is a cold water fishery resource. Every effort should be made to keep sediment out of the water column. Cold water streams and rivers are critical habitat for a variety of fish, including rare American brook lamprey, long-nosed sucker, lake chub, and recreational important brook trout species. And I'll also add native Atlantic salmon because they are down there. The parties should review the provisions of 310 CMR 1053-7, which states the notice of intent for any projects involving the construction, repair, replacement, or expansion of public or private infrastructure shall include an operation and maintenance plan to ensure that the infrastructure will continue to function as designed. Implementation of the operation and maintenance plan as approved by the issuing authority shall be a continuing condition that shall be set forth in the order of conditions and a certificate of compliance. If you have any questions regarding this letter, please contact Mark Stinson, and it was CC'd to the Westfield Conservation Commission. And I did have correspondence with him, thanking him for this information. So there's one piece. Let's see, other correspondence. I believe I had one other piece of correspondence. I believe it was from Mass FM. I think it's here, but I'm got too many pieces of paper and we need to wrap this up. So Mass FM was going to be having an event coming up in the near future. Mass FM, again, is Mass Flood Management. It's a group of flood control and floodplain management entities, including both public and private entities. It is a working group and networking group for flood control related issues. And the members, as of this current fiscal year, the members of this commission all have memberships to it as part of our learning and training, because there are workshops that are provided through this organization as part of its membership, and similar to other entities within the city. Education is important, especially when it comes to flood control matters. So this also involves FEMA. This organization was partially initiated by FEMA for flood control, as other states have these, and Massachusetts once did have something similar, but it kind of fell apart over the years. And the idea is to reinvigorate this and get Massachusetts to have a more cohesive flood control, a statewide flood control plan, because Massachusetts does lag behind many states when it comes to flood control and flood control issues. I have no other correspondence at this time, unless you have something, Jack.
No, I don't.
Okay, observations, item 18. I have no new observations other than I have some of the most recent flood data from the USGS regarding I keep doing that, but November 25th, the Christmas flood, mini flood that we had where the Westfield River didn't quite approach 13 feet, which is flood height, but the water was enough to cause full backflow of water from Little River through those drainage conduits into the protected side of the city. And I've kind of established a gauge of where that water begins to backflow into the city of 10 feet. 5 feet on Little River. 5 feet of height increase will begin backflowing through those drainage conduits into the city. So, and that's nowhere near flood height on that river. So, interesting piece of observation. And I've got a few other things, but that can be discussed at another time when I have it all in front of me. Other observations, Mark Goodness did report that there was growth is kind of heavy, starting heavy, given the weird spring that we've had with this cold, then sudden heat with all the rain. And now everything's in full bloom. So I guess Lou Belzic is going to have a lot to mow in the beginning of the season. And the ticks are terrible. I've had more ticks this spring than I've had in my entire life. So, yeah, good times. Jack and I, we had picked ticks off us just the other day with Lou Belzic. Yeah, when I got home, I picked one off of you. I picked a couple off of me, and then I got home, and sure enough, I had another on me. So that's pretty much it. Jack, do you have any observations?
No, except for things got to start moving pretty soon. That Little River levee. I'm really getting frustrated that I've been on commission almost 15 months, and they haven't done anything really except for one mowing. And I don't know. All my experience in government, I've never had anything this slow or this goofed up. Right.
Well, like we started with 8 trees and one fell on its own accord. So, it's kind of like that scene from Mel Brooks and the History of the World with 15 commandments, smash, 10 commandments. It's taking
we have another
long.
tree ready to fall. The one that's right where the erosion is almost cutting into the roots, and that's going to fall in.
Well, it's 2 actually, because we've got the one with the erosion issue. That's the other. There is an observation there. I'm sorry. So the observation is that in the rainstorm that we had about less than a month ago, we had some more erosion at the base of that berm there, if you will, the protection berm for the 2 outfalls, where the more material has been removed. Not a lot, but some. The erosion is continuing, and that tree is starting to lean more toward the river. So eventually it's going to slough off if we don't get it cut down soon. The weight of that tree.
That's one of the 7. If that is cut down, then a chance that it's not going to have a problem of a much erosion, further erosion. But if that tree falls over, it will pull out those roots, and there's a big bulk of roots. That's going to pull a lot of soil with it, and that can really start to cause some future opening for more erosion.
Right. I mean, it's cutting it down is not going to stop the erosion, but it will keep it from falling in. And if it falls in, then, like you said, we lose. Literally.
So when you fall with a tree, from what I see on the rest of the levee, when you're walking down the levee that we don't own at the moment, then you're going to see that when the trees are falling over, they pull up their roots. A lot of them, they're not deep, but they're big bald roots, and therefore you're going to get some soil with them, and you're going to hit it at a very critical point where you can't really, you don't want to lose any soil because now you're into the toe of the levee.
Right. Well, the other problem with that tree going over is that if it goes, it's going to take that top cap layer, the clay layer, and the silt, and then the clay, and then you're down into the gravels, and it's just going to slide right off, and then it's not going to take much for that to start coming apart below.
No, and that's going to go down the river to where it's already accumulating on the left side of the island, where the last tree is, and that's going to have to be cleared eventually because you're going to be blocking that area and giving only one path instead of two paths to go around the island with the little river.
Right.
A lot of problems there.
Right. Well, the other thing with that tree going, if it goes, that protective berm of the two outfalls, we lose that, and then the river's smashing right into those outfalls with trees and rocks and anything else that comes down the river. So, then we have even more problems. And if we lose those two the backflow prevention gates there, the big 1-inch steel plates, we lose those, then that's another expense. Those are not cheap. So
no.
Those are still functional and in good shape. But if they get smashed off and end up in the bottom of the river where we can't retrieve them, then, that's, a few $1,000s.
Well, the other problem is we got a head wall that we still have to get approval to put on there. And that head wall was for a certain amount of length.
Right.
But it may have to be extended down to protect the land that's being eroded. That is, like you said, the abutment that protects the culverts. So we would be putting more concrete work in than we had hoped to, or would have had it done a year ago.
Right. Well, and that'll come out of the inspection report, I hope, with Army Corps, because I know they had looked at that intensely when they were there for the inspection. We had kept contact with them on that, the developing issue. So they took a lot of notes on it. So I think there'll be a lot more collaboration going forward once we kind of do what we need to do. Army Corps will see that we're serious about fixing these things. And I wait for the details of that report. So, and hopefully we can kind of, when we get stuff ironed out, we can figure out how to fix that properly. I think it's going to be more involved than we ever hoped to, but it'll also.
It's getting worse because of erosion and other issues. I mean, you can't. It's like a tooth with decay. You just say, "Oh, it's a little decay. We'll let it go till later on." Eventually, it's going to be to the point where with the root canal, or you're losing the tooth altogether.
Right.
It's an analysis that if you don't repair what's falling apart, it gets worse. It doesn't get better.
Right. It's not going to fix itself. So,
no, we got a problem. I mean, people think, well, I'm saying, oh, we got a problem like this guy's overboard. If you go down there and look at it, it's unbelievable. Believe me, unbelievable. Yep. I'm talking, when you talk about the Flood Control Commission has done a lot over the years, yes, you have. You've done with the dams, you've done with the area off of Meadow Street. But Little River Levee, the whole city hasn't done diddly.
Right.
Show me one thing you've done besides mow some grass, and we don't even mow a lot of that because we only own 550 feet. We don't even own that.
Hey, we've got
part of that lane. When I walked on, you told me that's owned by somebody else. That's like number 5, I think, of the thing. So I don't know. I got to shut up. I'm getting frustrated just listening to myself.
It's all good.
Really. I mean, I've been on a lot of commissions, and I've never seen things go so slow. Even though we're killing ourselves trying to get action done, and I know you're doing a hell of a lot of work, but.
Well, we've got enough. Hopefully, we've got enough light on the issue, and it's working itself to where it needs to be. So we just got to.
We need some green with pretty pictures of presidents.
Well, I won't comment, but anyway, we got to wrap this up. We can get everybody off of here. Steve, thank you, and Peter, thank you as always. You do a great job, and I don't know if everybody gives you the credit you deserve for what you do. So
I have a question for you.
Absolutely, Steve.
I'm sure my assumption is going to be correct. None of our dams have any type of monitoring system, any type of seismic monitoring for earth movement, is there?
No. We do have at Armbrook and Powder Mill both, and I believe, there was at Little River Levee, there were piezo monitors, they're not physical monitors. They're pipes that are shoved into the ground, and there is a certain level of resistance that can be measured through Earth's natural electromagnetic current that tells it gives a certain setting that gives an idea of values that they can. It's a little bit magic to me, but they get values based on the water pressure that should be expected at these sites. And if they exceed a certain amount or under a certain amount, it indicates that there's a problem. We do not have active equipment on them, but equipment can be brought to them and tested. The problem at Armbrook and Powder Mill is that they were at Powder Mill, they're there somewhere, but they apparently were knocked down or damaged and have been lost to time, but they will be replaced when the dam is rebuilt or repaired or rehabbed, I should say. And Armbrook, the two that we had there were damaged by a prior contractor that we had for mowing and grooming, and they had hit them and damaged them to the point where they were bent over almost 90 to the ground. And of course, we don't have the technology to drill and replace those. At least it would require drilling and replacing of those. And that's part of the repair project that's coming. What would be nice in the future is that we look at having electronic monitoring on those, including cameras, because they are flood control dams. But we've talked about that in the past, but we're not to that point yet.
Well, that would come from FEMA, correct?
It could come from FEMA. It could come from MEMA. It could come directly from the state. It could come from a combination of the NRCS, FEMA, MEMA, and the city. That's all stuff that can be discussed with some of the ideas that are still out there about possibly putting additional walking trail / bike trail connector. There's a lot of avenues to get those things to possibly get funded. But the basic piezo is a requirement of these structures. The piezo electric monitoring is just, again, it's basically a specialized steel pipe that's driven deep into the ground in a couple locations at the base of the dams. And at Little River Levee, there's proof that they were put in there. I found remnants of what appears to be one in one location near Ponders Hollow Road, and I found another pipe that's pretty well rotted, but it's there at the toe end or the tail end on the downstream side of it. And there may be one somewhere on the northern end, maybe, but I didn't see it. It could have been knocked over. I'm sure Army Corps put them in though.
But those aren't monitored, so if you wanted to see if something was going on, you actually physically have to go there then and look at them.
Correct. So the way that these were created, I don't know, I'm sure they were put in many, many decades, or these came into existence many decades ago. Essentially, you walk up there with I'm going to say some glorified version of an ohm meter, and you take a reading of what that is, and there's parameters based on the design that will tell you it's within spec or it's outside of spec, and if it's outside of spec, which way the issue is. But beyond that, there's no other monitoring.
So there's no way of predicting when something could just let go. As you say, a heavy rainstorm, you wouldn't know until after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the active monitoring we do is we as commissioners physically go down. I mean, I've done it. I do it. I've been doing it since I've been on the commission. When I realized we don't have anyone actually physically able to monitor these, and we have no monitoring system, I physically go down. I know Jack has come down with me on at least 2 occasions. Mark Goodness has gone down. Barry Plumley has. When he was on the commission, he would go down on a somewhat regular basis to check Armbrook and Powder Mill Brook dams. Henry Warshaw would, also at the pump station. I will say that the pump station is monitored on a regular basis. I should say that. Jeff Camelli and Water Resources, it's hooked up to the city's SCADA system, which is an automated system that operates from the sewage plant. If there's an issue, they'll see it right away, and it is regularly maintained and operated now. Whereas in the past, it was kind of just left on cruise control, and somebody physically had to go in, turn on the lights, and turn the stuff on. Now everything's automated and actuated, so it's a redundant system where if there's an issue, they'll know about it, and if you have to manually activate something, you can. Which is one of the things that we really push hard for when we were doing the rehab on it. That we can't spend money on something and then not maintain it and not have any way to watch it. So we have that at the pump station. The pump station is almost entirely automated at this point, and it's the only one that we actually watch. But as far as the river heights and other stuff, as you know, you get information from MEMA and FEMA. I watch that stuff. I watch the USGS notifications. I get notifications from them on river heights. National Weather Service information I stay on top of, and I physically go down and look at the sites to see what's going on, because just because the water says it's X amount doesn't mean that there might not be another issue. And as in the case of, say, Armbrook and Powder Mill, if somebody's not physically there checking them, you could have other issues, especially with Armbrook, which had a history in its early days of having water piping underneath it, which is water that seeps underneath and could undermine the dam. They fixed it during the construction of it. But there's always a concern that could happen. And if somebody isn't physically there looking at it on a somewhat regular basis, you never know. I mean, it could be a hot sunny day and you could have an issue develop just because of its age, or, as much as a mole digging in the wrong spot and causing water pressure to build in an area over time. So, and that's one of our other issues that we're looking for in our future budget request is rodent control, because that is or animal control on the dams for digging and undermining, as that is a requirement of both NRCS and U.S. Army Corps of Engineer requirements for management of flood control structures, is to maintain that you don't have animals digging and burrowing in them. So that's one of the things we put in our budget request, to pay for animal control on these sites. And then, of course, you also have beavers, which the city does have a contract for through the Health Resources Department. But anyway.
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to look into a little bit of seismic monitoring, either through MEMA or FEMA.
Absolutely.
Just to see what's out there, what would be available, what would be funded. Because again, if you don't, as you go down, you're going down in a rainstorm, but you may not always be able to get in there either. So
exactly.
I would feel better from my point of view of having some kind of electronic monitoring equipment where we're most prone to hazard. Right.
And I mean, on our two dams, Powder Mill Brook does hold water all the time. Armbrook. Time. Powder Mill does have water in it, and based on what NRCS dug up in some of their older records, it wasn't supposed to have any holding capability in normal conditions. It was supposed to be dry all the time, not 8 feet, based on some of the information I had, that it was 8 feet. Somebody at some point thought it was a good idea to close it off and let the water rise, maybe for fishing or whatever. But it's designed to be dry, except in flooding conditions. And that's actually some of what it caused some of its problems. But still, in a situation where you have high water volumes, and you have an earthquake situation, it only makes sense. And that's those electronic monitoring on the piezo's would do exactly what you're talking about.
All right. Well, my department might have a different angle on that, over the flood commission. So I'm going to look into it for you and see if I can offer you any assistance with that part too.
Absolutely. Any would be appreciated.
All right.
And we have other dams in the city that, they're old, and I hate to say decrepit, but I know at least one that I can point to that's decrepit. It's not, I shouldn't say decrepit, but it's not a dam that I would have any faith in doing anything constructive for the city. And that would be at the Coles Bridge, the old Stevens paper mill. I know that dam is it's old and it's not really using anything, and it's actually a hindrance to flood control, not a help, because it holds water back when we don't want it to be held back in that river. We want to get that water out of there as fast as we can. So,
all right. Anyway. Well, like I said, I'll look into it from my angle, because that is part of preventive.
Yep, absolutely. And I appreciate that a lot, Steve. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Steve and Peter. Again, thank you so much, and we'll get out of here because it's getting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn if it's ready.
We can't make a motion because we can't vote. So I'm going to adjourn the meeting as of 8:51 p.m.
8:50.